Welcome back to All Things Jerry, and I'm back with another story. Today's story is about a 20-year-old Australian pilot in training. Before I get into the story, make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel, and please leave a comment. So today's story is about Frederick Valentich. He was a 20-year-old Australian pilot in training. Frederick lived with his parents and 3 siblings. Now, Frederick already had his private pilot's license, but he was studying to get his commercial pilot's license. He already had about 150 hours of flight time. Frederick had a Class 4 instrument rating, and that meant he could only fly in clear conditions. It had to be clear enough for him to see what was ahead of him without using a radar or any other instrument. So he had to be able to see everything with his naked eye, or he wouldn't be able to fly. So on October 21st, 1978, Frederick set out on a 125-mile training flight. Now, he was going from Melbourne to down the south coast of Australia. So like I said, this training flight was about 125 miles, and it should have taken him about 90 minutes. Frederick was flying a Cessna 182L. This was a light aircraft. It had 4 seats and 1 engine. About 47 minutes into the flight, Frederick radioed into the air traffic advisor, Steve Roby, and he said that there was a strange aircraft that kept approaching his plane. So it was flying very close to him, and it was flying really fast. He said this aircraft had 4 bright lights, 1 green light, and it had a flat metal surface. In his transmission to the air traffic advisor, he kept saying that the aircraft was flying very close to him very quickly. He felt like the aircraft was messing with him. He said it kept approaching him, flying away, and then coming back around. So he was asking Steve Roby if Steve Roby knew of any type of military flights or military exercises going on in the area, because he wasn't sure if this was a military plane. So apparently Steve looked into it, and there were no known military exercises going on in the area. While he was speaking to Steve, he started to report engine troubles. I couldn't figure out exactly what the problem he was having with his engine, but he was reporting some type of engine trouble. He said the aircraft had disappeared, but now there's something going on with his engine. Right after he told Steve this, the aircraft came back. Now at this point, Frederick reported that this aircraft was hovering over his plane, and he said that this was not a plane that was on top of him. He didn't know what it was, but it wasn't a plane. After that, Frederick didn't say anything else, but there was about 17 seconds of just the sound of possible metal scraping. After that 17 seconds, the transmission ended, and no one heard from Frederick, and they did not know where the plane was. Now, when Frederick didn't arrive at the airport when he should have, they set out to search for him. They did a 1,000 square mile search of the air and the sea around the area that they believe Frederick was last heard in. Now, this search lasted until October 28th. They didn't find any evidence of Frederick or his plane. Now, they did find an oil slick close to where they believe Frederick went down, but they tested it and they found out that it was petrol and not plane fuel. They did determine that whatever happened to Frederick and his plane, that it was not very likely that Frederick survived. Now, I'm not sure how they made that determination because, like I said, they didn't find any evidence of the plane or Frederick at all. So I'm not sure how they determined that he didn't survive. Now, on the night that Frederick went missing, several witnesses reported seeing strange lights in the sky and hearing odd noises. So one witness said that he saw an object flying above an aircraft, and that this object had green lights, similar to what Frederick had described when he talked to the air traffic advisor. The witness said that the light was moving very quickly towards the plane, and eventually both disappeared. Another witness said that he was sitting on his tractor the morning after Frederick disappeared. And he said he noticed on his property, he saw an aircraft hovering above his property. He said he got closer and he realized that the aircraft had a plane attached to it and that the plane was leaking a lot of fuel. He said he didn't get close enough to see what exactly was wrong with the plane, but he was able to etch the serial number from the plane into the side of his tractor. Now, this witness actually didn't report this to the authorities. He actually told a few friends about it, but his friends convinced him not to go to the authorities. They said that people were going to think he was crazy, that no one would believe what he was saying. So he went years without mentioning this to authorities. He had only told friends, and the word kind of traveled. And he did say that the plane that was attached to that aircraft was a Cessna. On May 16th, 1983, about 5 years after Frederick went missing, there was an eroded wing flap found about 350 kilometers from where they believe Frederick's plane went down. Now, the serial number on this wing flap, some of the numbers matched the serial number on Frederick's plane. But because they couldn't get all the numbers from this wing flap, so they could only determine that it came from the same type of plane that Frederick was flying, but they couldn't determine that it was specifically his plane. Now, other planes of the same make and model had flown in that same area and reported losing parts of their plane. So, like I said, they couldn't determine for sure that that was part of Frederick's plane or not. It could have been from any of those planes that lost parts. As they were looking into the case and trying to figure out what possibly happened to Frederick, they found out a lot of information about him. Specifically, the fact that his father said that he was completely obsessed with UFOs and aliens. His father stated that Frederick was really worried that he was going to be attacked by aliens at some point. He had also told his girlfriend that aliens were going to come get him. He was going to go away with these aliens and he was not going to return. They also found out that Frederick had failed his commercial pilot's license exam 5 times. He was also being prosecuted for purposely flying into clouds twice and for flying into restricted airspace. So, of course, there were a lot of theories into Frederick's disappearance. Some people think his plane just crashed, not really taking into account what he said he saw. Some think that Frederick really was abducted by aliens, and this is why no one has found his body or the plane. And some people think that Frederick was actually flying upside down, and that the lights that he was reporting seeing above him, they were actually the reflection of his plane off the ocean that was under him. That theory was debunked because of the type of plane Frederick was in. The transmission that he made to the air traffic advisor lasted over 6 minutes, and the plane he was in wouldn't be able to fly that long upside down. And quite a few people think that Frederick actually just flew the plane somewhere else, that he left the path that he was going to go on for his training flight, and that he wants people to think that he was abducted by aliens. I'm not sure how they wouldn't have found the plane with radar at that point, but that's one of the theories. So what do you think? What do you think happened to Frederick and his plane? Do you think he was really abducted by aliens? Do you think he crashed? Or did he purposely leave the area just so everyone would think that he was abducted by aliens? Let me know what you think in the comments below. That was my story for today. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel, and please leave a comment. I will see you all again next Wednesday at 10:15. Thank you for watching. Bye.